Hello, Eric.
Hi there.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you also.
Good to see you. So, Eric is a professor at the University of Maryland, and yeah, I mean, I think we don't need to introduce him very much. He's one of the famous figures in this space.
Thank you very much. So I'll be talking about high rate lithium metal and actually a sodium metal too, for that matter, solid state batteries through a controlled architecture. And Also, just I need a disclaimer that I'm a founder of Ion Storage Systems, which is commercializing this technology. Okay. So there's been a big focus on trying to get to a lithium free lithium metal anode. Obviously, the reduction in mass from a carbon anode to lithium metal, but also this comparable reduction in anode volume if you can go lithium free. The issue is, how do you deal with the infinite volume expansion upon every cycle, right? And that's been a major issue for lithium metal batteries, which are trying to be, again, lithium free in that the lithium comes from the cathode and not from the anode itself. A lot of people looked at solid state electrolytes. This is some work by Jürgen Janik's group, and there's very high interfacial impedance. But if you apply enough pressure to it, you can get the lithium metal to be in good contact with the solid electrolyte, in this case, a lithium garnet material. And you'll notice that at 400 megapascals, the interfacial impedance goes to essentially zero. And the reason for that is actually on the stripping cycle. The lithium pulls away from the solid state electrolyte, and so you have to maintain that pressure against the cell. Okay, but this results in very high stack pressure required during stripping with planar interfaces, and the result of that is if you have a solid state battery with a solid electrolyte like garnet or any other one, you have to apply pressure to it, and you have that infinite volume expansion on every cycle. And that can result in dendrite propagation and cracking of the electrolyte. Okay. And so the way that people address that pressure requirement, and there's as an example, some photographs from the web from QuantumScape's cells, you apply a lot of pressure, big giant stainless steel plates and springs and things of that nature. But that to me is not really commercially viable, and we need to find a way to get to cycle lithium metal with no volume expansion. So to start off with, we work towards getting the lithium metal to wet the solid electrolyte interface, and this is work that we did some time ago, published in Nature Materials, where you can see if we just take a lithium foil and put it on a garnet disc and heat it up to the melting point, it just forms a ball. It's the classical non-wetting. But if we were to put a very, very thin atomic layer deposition of alumina on it, well, in fact, it'll wet and it'll form a conformal surface. The impedance here shows that the data in the red is without the surface modification. The data in the black is with, so we have to kind of expand the scale there. And below that is sort of, the cycling at zero point 0.1 milliamps per square centimeter. Without the surface modification, you get to very, very large voltages to try and get to scale to cycle. But after the LD treatment, it actually looks like a straight line. But if you blow it up, you can see sort of the square wave on it. And we get interfacial impedances on the order of about 1 ohm centimeter squared. Again, this is at room temperature with no applied pressure. And to do that even further, we want to expand the interfacial area by having a 3D architecture. And you're seeing that in this paper here, where we have a porous microstructure, and we're just basically putting that on top of a hot plate, which has some lithium on it. And you'll see how fast, in fact, the lithium metal will infiltrate into the pores by capillary action. So it really just sucks it right in there and results in a great interface between the lithium metal and your solid electrolyte at room temperature. To make the structures, it's very scalable ceramic processing. We just do tape casting. We make multiple layers. The one layer is dense. It's just the ceramic electrolyte itself. And in the other layers, we add a pore former. It's a polymer spheres, which burn out during this single firing step. And you can see that in the lower right here with an example of what we call a tri-layer. And just blowing that up, you can see how uniform and dense that center layer is. It's about 15 microns. We've gone down to less than 10 microns. And we're able to do that because it's supported mechanically by the porous layers. And so here we just have two different sides, a cathode and anode side. And you can see how well, in fact, the lithium metal will infiltrate the pores as shown on the SEM on the right. Okay. And the thing is that it results in a